God.
Poor unfortunate soul.
Hello everyone, my name is Pythagore and welcome back for another episode of Scarworld Season 3. Make yourself comfortable, grab one of those delicious carrot juices, and let me tell you about this time when I got lost into a swamp. So do you remember how in the last episode I lost my base? Well then I was homeless and I decided to take my chance across the swamp. So I braved this broken ground and lily pad infested rivers, and I managed to make my way to the other side, where I found a nice mountain, and I thought I had found a place to relocate. It had a nice view and a wildlife that I could use. Unfortunately, it was a bit too close from the border of another player, so I decided to check the other side of the mountain, and sure enough I found another type of landmarks. Following those took me to someone else's starter base, and I was quite happy to see someone after all this time wandering around, but I didn't feel that welcome. So not very sure of his intention, I decided to not take a chance here and just backtrack all the way back to the swamp. I was running low on food by now, so I did what I had to do to survive. This swamp is no place for the weak. So walking my way around, I found another portal, obviously already looted. That was not important because just after that I met Mr. and Mrs. Wolfies. And since I was loaded with bones, thanks to my skeleton spawner, I could win their friendship over. And then I resumed my journey with my two new friends, trying to stay away from other people's bases, but I kept entering their starting base. So there were players left and right, and eventually I reached the border of the world. So after walking all the night and being famished, I decided to treat myself to a juicy and crispy strip of bacon for breakfast. Bacon, I can smell it across the screen. Is your mouth watering too right now? Yum 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 yum. And with such a hearty breakfast, I was ready to take on the world and finally find a place to settle down. Until I literally pulled a scar. Yes. Okay, so it was past 4 AM and the comments on the Discord channel were priceless.
Poor unfortunate soul.
Fortunately, I had my F3 screen open, so I roughly know where to go. Or maybe I died because I have the F3 screen open? Who knows? Anyway, so I went through the portal to the Nether and ran along the windy tunnel of the Nether Hub all the way to the portal of Candlekeep, then down the slope, through the river, up the slope, passing by the goats, hello goats, to the pine forest, nearby the wild berries, which I didn't pick and I don't know why. I found some familiar landmarks. Pick up an apple for the road, much appreciated. Found the big body of water nearby the ravine. And finally made it to the ravine, where I spotted my remains. This is a weird sentence to say. I was so relieved that my stuff didn't despawn. My hands were so sweaty all this time, and I just wanted to get away from this place. No. Ah, stupid me. You can see my hand shaking. I was so infuriated with me. And can we take a moment just to review that clip? Because I clearly spotted that block without water. I saw it coming. I definitely saw it coming. So, to the portal. To the Nether. No, that should not be there. Oh, I took a wrong tunnel. Okay, U-turn. Back to the spawning area. Down the Candlekeep. Check. Don't miss the turn. To Candlekeep. Through the Nether. And through the portal. Up. Down the slope. Through the river. Up the slope. By the goatees. Ooh, what is? No, Pythagore, no. Stay focused on the mission. Okay. Pine forest. Yes. Wild berries. Yes. Collected. Yes. Pine forest, yes. Where is that? Oh, landmarks. Yes, nice. I know the way. Body of water. Sweet. The plains, and finally the ravine, where I spotted my second remains. I never thought I would have to say this sentence twice in the same episode. So I decided to clear up a bit the space, just in case someone else had a good idea to fall, and just put as much as distance as possible between me and this cursed place. So I was looking for a new area to explore when I walked into a place that felt way too much familiar. And sure enough, it was almost 6 AM. I was exhausted and stressed by the 2 previous deaths, and I had walked thousands of blocks in every direction to simply make it back to the starting point. I was going to just log out and call it a day when I noticed that the sign had changed. So I went to check, and the guy had moved out, meaning that everything the light touches is my kingdom. Asterix, until the signs around the border. Speaking of which, I went to craft a bunch of those and went around the border, slamming my name everywhere it could be seen. I had learned my lessons and I was not going to make the same mistake twice. Now that we had the land for ourselves, it was time to settle down properly, so I started to grow some crops. I had only weeds and beetroot, and I was still on the lookout for carrots and potatoes. So I set up the 2 fields I needed to feed myself, and leveling the ground with a few more layers of dirt, which is funny because I'm pretty sure I'm going to remove them soon enough, maybe in a couple of episodes for a project I have in mind. With the field finally set up and running, it was time to say goodbye to our starter fields. Yay! Oh, this is way too satisfying. Anyway, with the food situation being resolved, I decided to do some reconnaissance to spot the area I wanted to develop in the future and the one I wanted to avoid in the future. And I was in the process of securing the land when a little bird started to pip in my ear. I had no idea you could do this and no idea how to answer it. Oh, hey, hi! Welcome to RCM Rocks, our neighbor from the swamp behind. RCM was looking for a villager, but I had none at that time, and I had no idea how to answer him. So yeah, I did what I could, and I think he saw my struggle and was kind enough to let me know how to actually whisper back. Very nice of you, mister. Yeah, so it was nice to interact with some of our actual neighbor and get to know the people around and learn something new. So pretty happy. Which actually reminded me that I had a villager somewhere. So much for learning from my mistakes. And with this done, it was time to start our base. So I went to collect a bunch of resources, chopping some of the trees, replanting them and trying to get some bees. It actually worked. Then I went caving to light up the area and do some diggy to get some stones and ores. I want a bunch of copper for this build. With all those resources in hand, it was time to clean the place and lay the foundation of our base. So I don't have a detailed design, I just have a rough idea of what I want to build and the shape. It will probably be a L shape, but I have a master plan for the area. I want to build a fantasy novel-based village, and to me, the most iconic building in those stories is an inn, where the innkeeper is actually in a whole adventure on his own, and you can find his trophies all around the place, and you can see his trophies on the walls, and each of them has a different story. Yeah, a place where adventurer and traveler gather at night, and weary farmers and miners come to grab a drink before to go home. That's the kind of base I want to create. And hopefully I can drag some other players to share their stories, but otherwise I wasn't sure how I wanted to use the space, to divide it and to navigate it. By playing around with different design, colors and blocks, I decided that I wanted 3 areas. The main one, the entrance, should be the bar. You know, you just enter, grab your drink, socialize, and voila. Main areas eventually a trophy room or a restaurant. So I may add a kitchen later on, which will be elevated slightly with just one stairs block. And the other side, the other arm of the L shape of the building will be my workshop. Of course, I want it to be both properly decorated and functional. This is why I took some time really to play around with the space, with the design, with the textures, just to have a feeling how I could create, how I could infuse this identity of the into this building, and yet keep it functional for me. Yeah. So I just threw a bit of details, you know, stairs, the floor pattern, some contraption like smelters and composters in the workshop, just to have a feeling of the space and the volume I will need and how to actually use it and navigate it. I also decided that it was time to leave the basement and move upstairs, because, well, that's our base, and the best way to take ownership of it is to actually live in it and make use of it. So I redesigned slightly the entrance to the basement. That one got me struggling for a while because I didn't like how the water level were flowing with the spruce stairs. But eventually I found a design that was okayish. So I had moved my stuff from the basement, and I have created a few contraptions to give a proper identity to this place. So I felt like the one final element I wanted to create for today was the workbench, with a cutting stone, some storage unit, and the crafting table. Yeah, so I moved the walls back, not too happy with the final result because it's a bit squarish and I want to keep the workshop circular. I want to have a bit of freedom and diversity with the roof lines, but I will fix this eventually in the future. I tested a few variations as always, and I'm pretty happy with the end results. And with this last element, I feel like I had a good starting point for my workshop and the first floor of the building. And that's all I had the time to do for this week. And if you have enjoyed this episode, please leave a like or a comment below. It's always nice to read your feedbacks. And don't forget to subscribe for more episodes, and I will see you next week. Oh, that's so satisfying. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed this second episode, and I want to thank you all for the great support and the great comments for episode 1. I'm really speechless, and it makes me so happy to know that so many of you have actually liked it. This episode went smoother than the first one. I have since then learned how to properly separate my audio tracks, and I've started to read and to watch videos to learn about equalizer, compressor, and all this kind of nice stuff to make my voice sounds more even through the entire episode. And I will keep experimenting through the next episodes, and I hope you will have fun watching them. Until then, I hope to see you soon. Take care. Pythagore's out.